Phase 1. Argus should be faced away from the raid because of his sweeping scythe ability, which is the taunt off mechanic. It's a frontal AoE cone, so only the main tank should get hit by it. Taunt off at about 3 stacks, making sure to keep Argus facing away from the raid. He'll face a non-tank player in the raid and cast Cone of Death. As soon as he starts casting it, everyone should sidestep a few yards to not get hit by the cone. This will infect a slice of the room with Black Plague. Don't go on it, but stay close to it to overlap the Cone of Deaths as much as possible. The raid should stay close to Argus because a few raid members will get Soul Blight Orb on them. They should stay apart and align parallel to the Cone of Death slice, and this will drop black puddles for people to not stand in. The next Cone of Death should cover these. 2 players will get an aid of gul'dan. One will get a white bubble above their head, and the other will get a blue lightning textured bubble. One of these people should stay closer to melee range, and the other slightly further back, because once the 5-second timer times off of them, these bubbles will land and buff people who run through them. The white bubble will give 2000 versatility and haste for a minute, and the other gives 2000 crit and mastery for a minute. Whichever 2 stats you think benefit you the most, you should run through that bubble because you cannot have both buffs. More of these bubbles will appear through the first phase, and you should try to make sure to get the same bubble you got prior to stack the buff. If you get the opposite bubble, then your buff will reset back to 1 because you can't have both of them. On Heroic, these buffs last 30 seconds, meaning it's still possible to get 2 stacks of them, but it makes it a bit more difficult. Phase 2 is at 70% health. At the start of the phase, the outer edge of the room will become electrified, so everyone should get towards the center, but make sure you don't get in front of the boss because of his sweeping scythe ability. The current tank will get a 1-minute buff called Avatar of Agrimar, which increases their health by 100%, increases movement speed, and redirects all damage of nearby players to the tank. When Argus reaches 100 energy, 2 players will get a small soul burst on their head, and another player will get a large soul bomb. When these explode, they hurt anyone within 45 yards. The soul bomb will do more damage, obviously. You want the soul bomb individual to go to a designated spot about 45 yards from the raid, and the tank who is blessed by Agrimar should run over to them to soak the damage of the soul bomb. And while this is going on, the 2 soul burst individuals should go to 2 opposite edges of the room about 45 yards from the raid to drop off their soul burst. Everyone else should be stacked near Argus. Then also during this phase, there will be scythes that roll over lines in the room that you can see. Don't stand in their way. Phase 3 is at 40%. Argus will go to the middle and be unattackable. There will be multiple star adds around the room which must die to end this phase. A random player will get Cosmic Ray, pointed away from the raid. These adds will cast Star Blast, which you can interrupt if you want, but isn't needed. What does need to be interrupted is a more deadly ability called Cosmic Beacon. On Heroic, if Star Blast is interrupted, then they'll gain an impending inevitability buff, making it so they can't be interrupted for 20 seconds. So save interrupts for Cosmic Beacon. 2 adds will grow in size and run towards the middle and need to be tanked. One of them will have a buff called Blade of Eternal, which just increases their melee damage and should be tanked near the ad's casting so DPS can cleave off of him. Then the other will have Sword of Cosmos, which should be tanked in the center because it buffs guys that are by him. Kill these 2 off, kill the rest off, phase 4 occurs. RP will occur, everyone will die. Eonar will create a blooming tree, and when you're able to release your spirit, do so, and make your way to that tree to resurrect, dodging all the hungering souls as you make your way there. This tree will allow players to resurrect during the fight if they die, but has a finite number of uses. Once the tree's energy depletes, it will affect the raid with withering roots, hurting the raid. Make sure to interrupt his end of all things cast. Orbs will spawn around the room. Kill them ASAP. If you're a ghost during this phase, there will be glowing orbs in the spirit realm to pick up and it will buff the raid. On Heroic, Argus will cast Deadly Scythe on the current tank instead of Sweeping Scythe. This is a permanent debuff. One tank should take as many as they can until they die, then when they release Spirit, should run around as a ghost picking up those glowing orbs to buff the raid. 2 members will still get the small soul burst bubbles, which they should get away from the raid for, and on top of all of that, there will be blue spheres falling from the sky that should be dodged. And that is Antorus, the Burning Throne.